Hey City Church, this is Erik, and this week I am going to be showing you a drink recipe for the takeaway. As Thanksgiving draws near and the weather gets a little bit colder, if you're like me, you start thinking about eggnog. So I want to share an eggnog recipe with you. So the first thing that you need to do to make this recipe is get 12 egg yolks and put them in a large bowl. But don't just get rid of those egg whites. You want to save those, hold on to those, and I'll show you in just a minute when they'll come back. So take your eggs, crack them, and put all the yolks into the bowl. Alright, so once you have your 12 egg yolks in your large bowl, you're going to take 2 cups of granulated sugar and add that to the eggs, and then whisk the eggs and sugar together until they're smooth. The next step in this recipe is that you're going to add your milk and cream. So I use whole milk from Homestead Creamery, and it calls for 4 cups of whole milk. And I should say that I did not come up with this recipe. Credit should go with this recipe to Ross Catro, who turned me onto it. He found it, I think it was him originally who found it on chowhound.com, and it's a great recipe. You can still find it on there, although they don't have the story of where the recipe came from, but apparently this guy's grandfather had the world's best eggnog sometime when he was stationed in Shanghai, and he begged the host of this party to share the recipe with them, and this is where this recipe came from. So I've got my 4 cups of whole milk, and then it's going to call for 1 cup of heavy cream. Again, this is Homestead Creamery cream that I'm using. And, you know, measurements don't really have to be exact. It's more an art than a science when you're making eggnog. Alright, so I got that mixed together, and then I'm going to add the bourbon, and it calls for a liter, or again, roughly 4 cups of bourbon. Which, you know, when you're pouring it out, it's a lot of bourbon. Alright, so when you have about your quart of bourbon, you pour that into the milk and cream and egg and sugar mixture. And just in case this eggnog isn't boozy enough, you can add a little bit, if you want, of dark rum, about 1/2 cup, which I'm going to do. And you can also add a similar amount of cognac, or really any brandy that you want, so about 1/2 cup, but again, we're just eyeballing it here. Well, the key to eggnog, especially eggnog like this that has the booze already added to it, is you need to age it. It needs time to mature or ripen. And so the recipe says it needs at least a week to stay in the fridge. So the best thing to do is pour it back into your milk container and then stick it in the fridge and let it mature. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. We put 12 raw eggs into this eggnog. Isn't that a problem? What about salmonella? Well, it's the amount of alcohol that you put in there actually has antibacterial qualities and process. So you don't have to worry about the salmonella. I've read studies before. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I have read studies that have studied eggnog with this amount of alcohol content and said that it's no problem. And on a more experiential level, I have drunk eggnog like this multiple times, and I'm still here. Alright, so once you've got your eggnog poured into the milk container, it goes in the fridge, and you can leave it there for a week or longer. That means that if you make this recipe today or tomorrow or this week, it'll be ready for you and for you to share by Thanksgiving. So, as I said, with your eggnog, you want to mature it for at least a week, but there are some people who say it actually gets better and better with age. It mellows out a little bit. There's a reaction between the enzymes in the egg and the protein in the milk that sort of denatures the alcohol a little bit, and it gets smoother and richer and a little more complex over time. And so there's some of us who age our eggnog for up to a year. And I just so happen to have a little bit of last year's eggnog here. As you can see, I've got plenty to enjoy for this year as well. And I want to show you how you can enjoy that. So you pour as much as you want into a glass, and then you take your soft peak egg whites and you simply stir or fold them into the eggnog to make it just that much richer. And then if you really want to go next level, and I mean, who doesn't when you're dealing with eggnog and questionable food safety already, you add some fresh shaved nutmeg to the top. And this is a perfect drink for the holidays. Homemade, 1 year aged eggnog.